Welcome to the Whisky Exchange YouTube channel. My name is Jason Vaswani. I am the head buyer of Old and Rare Spirits here at the Whisky Exchange. And welcome to our first video in a multi-part series where we go into collecting whiskey and building a whiskey collection. Now, this is something that we're going to start and we're going to have a few different videos to follow. So please do follow along as we've got some really great tips to starting your whiskey collection. But I thought I'd start out by, if you are new to whiskey and you're new to collecting whiskey, the topic of collecting whiskey can seem like quite a big minefield. There's so many different whiskies to buy, and hopefully through this little mini series you will see exactly where to go and what to try. But one of the things I will recommend for anyone starting out, do follow and try and taste some of the whiskies and find what you like. And that's how I'd say, personally, my personal way of building my collection was I started back 8-9 years ago, where I bought whiskies that I just wanted to learn about the different distilleries, but that slowly shifted because it got very expensive, and then I started moving into whiskies that I really enjoy the liquid of, because once you enjoy the liquid, you know you've always got a drink or a whiskey to go back to and explore later down the line. Now, there's different types of collecting whiskey, and I'll cover the 3 areas. One of them is just sort of developed in the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. But I'll cover that one at the end. So the first one is the drinking collection. As we have here, we have a whiskey in a glass, and it's something that you get to enjoy, something you get to build and develop and evolve your collection over time. And also at the same time, you get to develop your palate, find what you like in your collection whilst building these collection of different whiskies in your collection. The second side of that one is the collector's collection. Sound a bit confusing, but it's where people that actually don't necessarily drink. They're people that just buy to have a nice variety of different bottles. And these are people that sometimes just like the labels, or even people that like to have a variety of different distilleries, maybe an A to Z of different distilleries, and have one of each because they just like to see it on their wall and it just looks nice, or it makes a really nice bar. And then finally, you have this new area which has happened in the last sort of 5 to 10 years, which is the investors. People who buy whiskey to invest in, as they see it more stable as an asset than buying, financial assets instead of them. So they go into buying whiskies and they think, you know what, whiskey today is worth this much, and later on it will be worth, say, 5 times, 10 times more. So they do it in that side. So those are the 3 areas of building collections. My personal favorite, and the one that I do a lot, is into the drinking and the collecting. Because in my personal collection, I know one of my colleagues asked me to do this series because of my collection, I've got between 400 to 500 bottles, and it's a collection that got out of hand very quickly. I started off buying one specific distillery, and I'll actually share my story with how I got into collecting whiskey. So the reason I started collecting whiskey, and the reason I sort of developed into that one, was because I really got intrigued by the flavor profile in whiskey. I tried one whiskey at an airport, the Auchentoshan Solera. And after tasting that whiskey, I saw the depth and the flavors and these juicy fruits, and I was thinking, how am I getting these flavor notes in this whiskey? It just doesn't make sense. They haven't added it to it, so it just doesn't make sense how these notes are there. Then someone gave me a Lafroig 10, and I didn't taste it, but I smelt it, and I said, whoa, that's like got this smokiness. It's almost got this like burnt rubber character, and it kind of took me off guard. And I said to myself, one is fruity and the other one is smoky. And that started that whole journey of me wanting to develop my palate and understand all these different flavor profiles. And as the further you get into it, you learn the different styles from different distilleries, then you learn about the different cask maturations, you learn about the different age statements, and it just keeps going there and there. And it's a fun, really incredible way of understanding that one distillery can actually produce different characteristics down to the casks or even down to the maturation, and it's really quite fun. So that's the levels of collecting Scotch whiskey and just the basics. I'd say one of the best bits of advice on why to collect whiskey and how to do it is build yourself around a really good community of people. One thing that I did in my early days, and I was quite lucky, is I attended the Whisky Exchange Whisky Show, and I also attended another show in Germany, and those are the 2 shows that literally got that sort of ball rolling. And it made me understand the community that you've got around you, because once you see the whiskey community, you've got a lot of amazing people that come and bring you drams. Even just the other day, I was sitting with a few friends at their house, and they're people I just met through the drinks industry, and opening bottles, some crazy bottles, and just getting to explore all these different things, which you wouldn't necessarily think you do in your flavor journey. So was a great stepping stone to learn about these other different distilleries and liquid. And through this series as well, we're going to cover different topics like lost distilleries. We're going to go into vintages. We're going to go into how to look after your bottle. So do stay tuned. Later on down the series, we're going to have some really exciting videos. But just getting the sense of the community, and also whilst you're building your collections, you'll have this opportunity to develop into all these different areas and different regions as well. So for example, if you look at Scotland, you've got Speyside, where you've got rich and fruity, sometimes a little bit smoky, even though it wasn't a thing way back sort of in the past, except for sort of like World War II. You've got the Highlands of Scotland, you've got the Lowlands of Scotland, you've got Islay, where it's famously known for its heavy, smoky, rich, peaty characters in the whiskey. You've got the islands known for the maritime characters. So all these different regions you can explore and develop your palate. But one thing I would say to anyone starting your whiskey collection today, do try and taste as many things. If you are getting an opportunity, if you live in London, visit our shops or go to tastings in your local town or city or local bars, taste the different whiskies and try and find what works for you, because that's a really good way of buying whiskies that you know you're going to have in your collection that you're going to open, explore, and even then maybe go on to share with other people, and maybe even also inspire other people as well. So I always say, follow the things that you love, you enjoy, you're passionate about, and you'll see it will just flourish and your collection will just start to grow. And at the same time, as your collection grows, your palate grows as well. So I'll leave the rest of the stuff on the next videos, but I just want to say thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, drop it a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Slunge.